Honestly, I thought the only story coming out of COTA was Tyler Reddick's three-peat, but then I saw Shane Van Gisbergen's name getting dragged into the cheating conversation because the second SVG finished runner-up. The internet basically tried to turn him into the judge, jury, and executioner for 2311 racing, and what he actually said puts NASCAR in a really awkward spot. So here's what we're doing today. We're going to break down the moment the COTA cheating row went from a few salty tweets to a full-blown narrative, the wild part about SVG's career path that almost kept him from NASCAR entirely, what he said right after losing at COTA, and why his reaction is the opposite of what people online are claiming. Then we'll finish with what to expect next at Phoenix, where the entire season could tilt again in one afternoon. Now first, quick background, because context matters here. COTA is supposed to be SVG's territory. Road courses are where he's been the headline, the measuring stick, the guy everyone's trying to solve. And coming into this race, the conversation was basically, okay, who can beat him? But at COTA, Tyler Reddick didn't just beat him. Reddick controlled the end of the race, kept the gap safe, and left SVG with that rare feeling drivers hate, admitting out loud. A second place that makes you feel like you lost. And the second that happened, you could literally watch the internet split into two groups. One side is celebrating 3 wins in 3 races. History, dominance, 2311 is cooking. The other side, they went straight to the courtroom storyline, the lawsuit settlement, the idea that NASCAR owed 2311 something, and now they're letting them get away with it. And I'm not even paraphrasing, what people are saying it with their whole chest. One post literally asked, was this part of the settlement agreement with 2311 and NASCAR? Boring. Another one went harder. 2311 is clearly cheating, and NASCAR is allowing it. Tyler Reddick is not that good of a driver. Something definitely happened with the lawsuit. Then you get the sarcastic ones like, settle the lawsuit, bam, 3 wins in the first 3 races of the 2026 NASCAR season. I'm sure it's just coincidence. And somebody else straight up said, it is obvious this is part of the settlement. There is no way any one driver has this type of advantage over 3 races. And to be fair, not everybody bought it. One reply basically laughed and said, here comes the this was part of the settlement conspiracy theorist. And Alan Cavana posted that people were calling into the SiriusXM post-race show, claiming something's fishy. Like 2 wins was fine, but 3 suddenly broke everyone's brains. That's the vibe right now. The sport just had a historic moment, and half the conversation turned into, yeah, but what if it's fake? So where does Shane Van Gisbergen come into it? Because SVG is the easiest receipt people want to use. If he says anything that sounds like frustration, if he hints at anything, fans will treat it like gospel. See, even SVG knows something's up. Except, here's the problem for the conspiracy crowd. SVG didn't do that. And before we get to what he said at COTA, there's a piece of SVG's story that matters more than people realize, because it explains why he reacts the way he does. SVG's career switch that almost happened. This part shocked me. SVG has talked about how close he came to taking a completely different path instead of chasing racing the way he did. In one interview, he described a moment early on where the money dried up, the opportunities weren't guaranteed, and he had to make a real decision about whether racing was going to be a career, or just something he loved that wasn't going to pay the bills. That matters because SVG isn't built like someone who needs to pretend. He's not the guy who's going to walk into a microphone and play into internet drama because it gets clicks. His whole personality is, tell the truth, tell it clean, go back to work, which is exactly why his post-race reaction at COTA is such a big deal. SVG after COTA, disappointed, but not accusing anyone. After COTA, Shane Van Gisbergen basically gave one of the most honest second-place interviews you can give. He said, it's weird to be disappointed to be second, still a great points day. And right there, you can hear it. That's not anger at NASCAR. That's not a shot at 2311. That's a racer saying, yeah, I'll take the points, but I came here to win. Then he went even further. And this is the part conspiracy people conveniently skip. SVG praised Reddick. He said, just following Tyler, his driving was immaculate, and his car was very good too. Tyler was just amazing. That's not a guy hinting at cheating. That's not NASCAR handed it to them. That's literally the most painful compliment in racing. He was cleaner than me, and he was better than me. So if you're NASCAR and you're watching the internet scream rigged, but the runner-up, the guy everyone assumes would be the loudest if something was off, is out here saying, nope, he was immaculate. What do you even do with that? Because NASCAR's big trouble isn't that SVG is accusing them. It's the opposite. NASCAR's problem is the sport just had a legitimate historic run, and a chunk of the fan base doesn't want to accept legitimacy anymore unless their driver is winning. And SVG's comments exposes that. Why the cheating row exploded anyway. Here's what's really going on. Reddick winning 3 in a row hit a psychological tripwire. If it was 1 win, people shrug. Daytona is chaos. If it's 2 wins, people get annoyed. Atlanta is drafting, anything can happen. But 3 wins across 3 very different tracks is where fans who already don't like the team start reaching for the only storyline that makes them feel better. It's not real. And because 2311 was in the lawsuit spotlight, people connected dots that don't actually connect. That's why this got loud. And even NASCAR insiders have been blunt about it. Jeff Gluck and Jordan Bianchi talked about the conspiracy claims and basically treated it like comedy, because logically it makes no sense. Gluck said the idea that NASCAR would secretly rig 3 wins after a lawsuit is ridiculous, and pointed out how fans complain NASCAR can't even get things right, then suddenly claim NASCAR is capable of orchestrating perfect outcomes across superspeedways and a road course. Bianchi even joked about how absurd it would be for a settlement to include, "We want Daytona, Atlanta, and COTA," like it's an order at a drive-thru. So when you line it up, the internet screams rigged, the insiders laugh at the logic, and the runner-up literally says the winner's driving was immaculate. That's not a cheating scandal. That's a credibility problem in the fan conversation. So what actually happened on track? Let's keep it simple, NASCAR terms. SVG was right there. He had the pace to be in the fight. He's good enough to win that race, and everyone knows it. But at the end of that event, the difference wasn't a mystery part or a secret advantage. It was execution. Reddick didn't give SVG the usual road course opening, a missed apex, a wheel hop, a moment where you can shove your nose in and make the other guy defend. That's what SVG meant when he said Reddick was immaculate. If the leader doesn't make mistakes, the guy chasing has to create something. And on a road course, creating something usually means risking your tires, risking a lockup, risking a track limit, risking a mistake that ends your day. SVG chose the mature option. Take second, bank points, live to fight later, which is why he called it a great points day, even though he was disappointed. And here's the irony. That's the exact opposite of what a cheating narrative needs. Conspiracies need the loser to be furious, vague, and suggestive. SVG was none of that. SVG didn't lash out at 2311 or NASCAR. The internet tried to use him as a weapon in the cheating row, and his actual quote basically shuts it down because he credited the driving, credited the car, and admitted they simply didn't have enough. That's why NASCAR is in trouble. Not because a driver accused them, but because even when the evidence points to he just got beat, a chunk of the audience is still stuck on something's fishy. What to expect at Phoenix 2026. Now we roll into Phoenix, and this is where things get spicy in a totally different way. Phoenix isn't a road course. It's not drafting chaos. It's one of those tracks where teams that are truly on one can separate themselves again, and where a driver trying to stop momentum has to be aggressive with strategy, restarts, and long-run balance. For Reddick, it's the next chance to stretch this story even further. For SVG, it's survival and discipline. If you're building a season, Phoenix is the type of place where a good points day matters. You don't have to win Phoenix to win the war, but you can absolutely lose the war there if you get impatient. And after COTA, SVG is already sitting in a strong early position in the standings, the kind of start you need if you're trying to make a real run at this season. So watch for 2 things. Does the cheating row get louder if Reddick wins again? Because if 3 wins broke the internet, imagine what 4 would do. Does SVG keep stacking points on tracks that aren't his comfort zone? Because that's how you become a championship threat, not just a road course monster. And that's the real storyline NASCAR should want people talking about. Because the funniest part about all of this, the guy everyone tried to recruit into the cheating narrative, Shane von Gisbergen, basically looked at the chaos, shrugged, and told the truth. He was disappointed with second, but he still called it a great points day. And he credited Tyler Reddick's driving as immaculate. That's not NASCAR rigging anything. That's NASCAR watching a driver do his job. So now I want your take. Do you think the cheating conversation is just fan coping, or do you think NASCAR has created a trust problem they're going to have to deal with all season? Drop it in the comments. And if you want more of these clean breakdowns right after the races, hit like and subscribe so you don't miss the next one.